Yo, what is going on, YouTube? What's up, fight fans? Welcome to yet another episode of the MMA Show. I'm your boy, Hagar Gonzalez. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate all of you watching. Don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave me a comment, man. Let me know how you guys are feeling. Let me know where you guys are from. You know, I'm here located in the dead center of the United States. I could not be more in the middle. Kansas City, you know, shout out, represent if you're from KC, what's up? But yeah, man, we have a lot to talk about here in this episode. We had UFC Fight Night that just happened here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the first time ever. And then we obviously have a big pay-per-view coming up here, UFC 303, that is going to be should be headlined by Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. I say should, because as we know, this, you know, if you've been following up, you know that this card has gone through massive changes. I mean, the main card is not remotely close to what it started with. You know, I think the only fight there that still is from the beginning is Ian Gary versus MVP. That's the only fight that, since the card got announced and they announced that fight, that's the only fight that stayed the same. About the, you know, I'm talking about the main card, not the prelims, but it should be a fun night. You know, looking at the card, I really think it's a better fight as far as having a lot of different fighters with different names, you know what I mean? And entertainment value should be good. However, I think that stylistically speaking, technically speaking, it should be a better main event, at least. Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Popularity-wise and entertainment-wise, there's nothing like a Conor main event. I mean, you guys know that. Everybody knows that. You know, there's not a single fighter in the UFC right now that comes close to having that level of hype, man. And you see it with the numbers. I think as soon as the tickets went on sale, the fucking UFC broke a record for the biggest gate, right? So that right there tells you that Conor is still a massive draw. Despite what anybody said, yes, the guy has had some tough losses this past couple of years, you know, losing twice, getting injured, and then now pulling out of a fight because of another injury. You know, it's not the best for your legacy, for your record. But I guarantee you that the same thing is going to happen in the next time Conor fights, which now they're talking about rescheduling for later this year. They don't know exactly when, but I guarantee you that when that fight gets announced, the same shit is going to happen. Everybody's going to buy fucking pay-per-view, everyone's going to buy fucking tickets, and he's going to sell like a motherfucker, bro. Conor is still a massive draw. Don't get it twisted, bro. That's why, you know, I said this before, I'm not a Jake Paul hater, but when Jake Paul says that Conor is not selling tickets, that he never sold tickets, like, bro, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking mind. And Jake Paul, pay-per-view wise, does not even come fucking close to Conor McGregor. Okay, I respect them. We've been over this. Okay, I've talked about that a lot. I respect him now as a fighter, as a boxer. You know, he's done the thing. So shout out. But you know, when you say shit like that, it's just flat out lies. It's not true. But yeah, that fight night, the whole main event went through massive changes, man. So we'll talk about him. But yeah, breaking down the UFC Fight Night that we just had in Saudi Arabia. Yes, it was the first time that the UFC had been there in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, they delivered. You know, this card also went through massive changes. We'll talk about them. But I think for what Dana White said, they have now a multiple deal contract with Saudi Arabia to go back to the UFC. However, it's only for fight nights, which kind of sucks. You know, it is what it is. I don't care for Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi cards. You know, the only good part about them is that the fights are earlier on the day, so I guess that's all right. But at the same time, I kind of like to watch the fights, you know, later on night, get a little tipsy, wind down for the rest of the day, you know what I mean, and just hang out. When the fights are at 4 p.m. or when the main card's at 4 p.m. No, not even the main card, the main fight. When the main fight is at 4 p.m., it's tough to get drunk and then do shit the rest of the day, you know? Anyways, we kick off the night with Johnny Walker versus Volkan Ozdemir. Unfortunate night for Johnny Walker. You know, his career now has been a little bit on the downslope, you know. Now he's going completely backwards as far as rankings go. So I feel bad for the guy, you know. And if you don't know, he got knocked out in the first round. it was the end. It was the end for him once Volkan started landing some of those combos. You could see Johnny just wasn't all there. And then got knocked down, got back up somehow miraculously, attempts a flying knee, which I don't know why, but then goes out and just gets knocked out by Volkan. So it's tough, man, and you feel bad because Johnny's one of those guys that he's entertaining to watch, and he's also super funny, like in social media and shit, and he's just a funny dude. But he's one of those dudes that he's a big-ish name, he's not massive, but he's a big name. He's pretty popular. But unfortunately just had some tough losses in his career. I believe this is now I think this is his second loss in a row. Yeah, he lost to Ankalaev. But then before that, he also had that loss against Jamal Hill, got knocked out pretty bad. But getting knocked out against Jamal Hill is not the end of the world. I mean, that guy's a savage, former champ. So a loss is still a loss, however. So, it's unfortunate for him. But yeah, shout out to Volkan and Ozdemir for pulling up the fight, starting the main event, the main card with a knockout. You always love to see that. But yeah, man, as far as Johnny Walker goes, I truly believe that he should consider it a move to heavyweight. I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast when they were watching this fight, the Fight Companion, and they were saying the exact same thing. I was like, dude, Johnny Walker, he's a big dude, and there's fun fights for him at fucking heavyweight, and you can tell that he sucks down a lot of weight to go to light heavyweight, and it just hasn't paid off. You know what I mean? And when you suck down a lot of weight, you're also more prone to getting knocked out because your brain is dehydrated. And that's one of the things that you suffer the most when you suck down a lot of weight, which is why Alex Pereira also decided to go up to light heavyweight. You know what I mean? So he would be following Daw's footsteps. So unfortunate. I believe now this is the end for his ranking. I think he was 15 in the rankings. Let me check. Never mind. He was number 7. My bad. I misspoke. He was number 7. But now I just think he's going to go back to like number 10 or something. Because Volkan, I don't think he was even ranked, bro. So that's a little unfortunate and, a little tough for him. But it is what it is, Shout out. Then we had Shara Magomedov fight Antonio Tricoli. This was also a fight that almost didn't happen. Well, Shara had a couple of different opponents throughout the last couple of weeks, and they all just kept falling apart. But then he ended up fighting Antonio Tricoli, who took this fight, I don't know, fucking like 3 days notice, and then flew out to fucking Saudi Arabia. That's fucking insane, bro. So shout out. It was also his UFC debut. You know what I mean? So, and he went 3 rounds. I mean, he went 3 rounds with the guy. Unfortunately, gets knocked out at the end of the 3 round. Well, not at the end, but halfway towards the 3rd round. And but hey, even Dana White praised him, like, hey, the dude's a savage, taking a fight. And if he gets knocked out in the first round, super easy, like, okay, it is what it is. But the fight that he lasted the 3 rounds with Shara, and I think did pretty good. That's just something about him. You know what I mean? I hoped that he's able to maybe stay with the UFC and do some more damage there, man. But it was an interesting fight. Shara pulled up the dub, got the KO in round number 3. Just completely, I think, outstruck the guy every round. Yeah, first round, it was 108 versus 39 total strikes. Second round was more even, 39 versus 26. Sorry, never mind. I misspoke. The first round was 39 versus 26, and then the second one was 36 versus 13. So Shara still had the advantage there, and then round 3, obviously the KO came out. So Shara Magomedov is super interesting guy to watch. He's a phenomenal striker, but he mixes it up so much, and he just goes out guns blazing. He's a wild dude. There was a point in the fight where he was gonna go get taken down, and he held on to the cage in a fucking horrible way. Like, when I say horrible, I mean like it's cheating. It is what it is. If you hold on to the cage that bad, where even the whole fucking, you can see the whole wall of the cage just fucking move forward. It's unfortunate. You don't want to see that. And a lot of people were saying that, that should be an automatic point deduction. And I agree. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter because the fight ended in a knockout. So the fact that, it doesn't matter what it would have been. But you never know. Maybe, Tricoli could have took him down and did something on the ground and maybe get a finish. You never know. Another thing about Shara is that even though he's from Dagestan, he's primarily a striker. We haven't really seen him do a lot of wrestling. And one thing that we saw in this fight is that his wrestling got a little better, like his takedown defense. Okay, we didn't really see him go for takedowns. Let me see. No, literally 0 takedowns in any point of the fight. However, Tricoli had 4 attempts, 3 attempts in the first round, 4 attempts in the second round, and yeah, that was it. But none of those were successful. So, but one of them was the cage grab. So it is what it is. But you never know. If he gets him down on that one, you never know what could happen, man. Something could have come out of that. So definitely automatic point deduction. I completely agree with that. But, at the end of the day, it did not matter because the judges were not needed for this fight. Ended in a TKO. Shara, man, he's also not able to fight in the United States, which is kind of unfortunate. And I don't really get why signing a guy that can only fight abroad or in other countries. Like, if you think about it, I don't know, like probably 75% of all the UFC pay-per-views and fight nights are in the United States. Occasionally, they go to Paris, they go to London, they go to Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia sometimes. But still, that's like all those countries, they probably do it like once, or, giving out like Australia. But most of the fights are in the United States. So the fact that this guy cannot even come to the United States and fight, don't get me wrong, he can come to the United States. It's not a visa problem. The issue is his eye. He only has one eye, so the fighting commissions here in the United States won't allow it to fight. Some of them, though, like we know for sure, Las Vegas he won't be able to fight in Las Vegas because the Nevada commission won't do that. And there's other ones, probably like Arizona won't let him, but you never know. There's some other ones that might let him, but it's tough. But it is tough because like this guy's becoming a little bit of a superstar. You know what I mean? He's got some hype. I personally, I'm not in the train just yet. You know what I mean? The guy's good, but we haven't seen him fight anybody that really impresses me. But that's my opinion. Whatever you guys want to think of him. Obviously, the guy is great to watch. I mean, he's, like I said, he throws a lot of shit. And he's super interesting to watch, especially because the fact that he's a Dagestani, that's primarily a striker. You don't see that a lot. You know what I mean? You see all these guys from Dagestani that are strictly wrestling. And I've talked about how sometimes that can be a little bit boring. You know what I mean? And that's my opinion. You know what I mean? If you love to watch a Dagestani dude just be on top for fucking 5 rounds, if that's what you're into, then that's what you're into. You know what I mean? That's great. But I personally like to see UFC fights get mixed up a little more. I like to see the striking. I like to see the wrestling. I like to see the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, anything. You know what I mean? So to me, it's okay. To me, it's good that he's able to be a striker. Now, if he's able to improve his wrestling, maybe go on camp with Khabib or some of those guys over there, that'll be pretty fucking awesome. I don't know if he's already on their camp. I could be wrong right now. Maybe he's already on their camp. There's not a lot of camps over there, I'm assuming, but I know that Khabib probably has the biggest camp over there. So I don't know. Maybe he's already there, and I just don't know about it. So we'll see. But yeah, that was an overall interesting fight. Like I said, went to the 3 rounds. So shout out to Tricoli for pulling that off, man. That in itself, it's a fucking accomplishment, honestly. Then we had Kelvin Gastelum versus D-Rod. This one was a little bit of an unfortunate situation that Kelvin missed weight completely. I believe this fight was supposed to be at 170, but it did not happen. Kelvin just did not make weight. D-Rod, obviously, Kelvin got the dub. At the end, it was a decision. Definitely outstroked D-Rod. Let me see here. So, yeah, overall, he had 123 strikes, and then he had more takedowns. So I think the takedowns is what gave him the advantage because strikes were pretty goddamn even. There were 123 for Kelvin versus 132 for D-Rod. So D-Rod got the advantage on the striking. If you can say that. Sorry, I was wrong on that. But with 4 takedowns and also a 100% takedown success, I mean, that's kind of wild. But hold on, the interesting thing here is that D-Rod had more total strikes and had more significant strikes. And then his percentage is also a little better. Well, with the total strikes, Kelvin has a 49% landing, and then D-Rod had a 48. So just barely the advantage, you know what I mean? And this is not a robbery. This is not one of those things, especially this is not a number one contender fight. This is not a championship fight. This is nothing, this is not like that. So it's not going to get that controversial when like, oh, it's a robbery. It's a robbery. Like, nah, it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, the takedowns is what got it done for Kelvin. 2 of them came in the second round and 2 of them came in the third round. That's what helped him out. So shout out to Kelvin, man. However, Dana White was not very pleased with Kelvin Gastelum after completely missing weight, and he talked about how it was just unfortunate. And, it is a little unprofessional. And I even saw a couple of memes going around with Kelvin eating tacos just a few weeks before the fight. And, the guy he's a bigger dude. I mean, when you look at him physically compared to other guys or just D-Rod, I mean, body-wise, Kelvin got a little bit of a gut, doesn't have the best physique, I would say, but the guy has cardio. That's the thing. The guy has cardio, he has a chin, and he can fucking rock, okay? He has power. So the fact that he has a gut doesn't really fucking matter. However, when you talk about discipline and a guy being professional and making weight, you have to make the weight, bro, especially at that level. You know what I mean? And also, it's tough because you lose 30% of your purse. I don't know if you guys knew that, but when somebody doesn't make weight, you lose 30% of your purse. D-Rod gets that 30%. So D-Rod lost the fight. However, he gets 30% of Kelvin Gastelum's purse. However, I mean, if he would have won the fight, he would have made probably more money because I think when you lose the fight, you only get 50%. So a little unfortunate for D-Rod, but hey, D-Rod's a fucking dog, bro. And he was complaining online on social media about how if Kelvin would have made weight, if he would have had to suck down, it probably would have been a much different fight. You know what I mean? The fact that he was heavier and didn't have to cut weight, it was an advantage to him, especially if he knew. Like, this is the Ryan Garcia shit, right? Like, if you know you're not going to make weight, then you don't cut weight. You don't dehydrate yourself. You don't fucking kill your body. Meanwhile, your opponent is. You know what I mean? But then, before the fight, you're like, hey, I'm not going to make weight. Oops, sorry. But now your opponent's like, fuck, well, I'm already sucked all this weight. Now I have to go back up. So Kelvin really had an advantage. Now, I'm not saying he did this on purpose. I'm just saying some people like Ryan Garcia did this on purpose. I'm assuming. But yeah, it's definitely an advantage, man, when you don't have to cut weight and you don't have to cut weight and your opponent doesn't know that. So I don't know, man. Dana was not happy with Kelvin. Kelvin's one of those guys that he's a fucking dog in the division. However, he had a couple of tough losses. He lost to Izzy and shit like that. So it was kind of hard. He was at one point a very good prospect. He could have definitely been world champ. So it's tough, man. It's tough. Let's see. This would be so before this fight, he lost to Sean Brady. Yeah, that was a good fight. And then before that, he lost to Curtis. And then before that, he lost to Whitaker. And he won. Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, win some of them, lose some of them. Unfortunately, in that division, bro, you can't do that, bro. In the middleweight or in the welterweight division, you cannot fucking do that. It's so tough when you get a couple losses, you will not get to a level like, look at these guys that are completely undefeated, in the top 3, top 5. So it's tough. But yeah, I mean, I wish the best, you know what I mean? I wish that Kelvin is able to maybe get a couple more wins under his belt, and then who knows, maybe go for if he gets like maybe 1 more win or 2 more wins. Again, he has to make weight. But I hope that he is able to get a couple more wins and then get a big opportunity. Either get a big name fight, or get like a number 1 contender fight. But again, that's if he keeps winning. He has to keep winning. Now, is he going to go to fucking middleweight? Is he going to be at welterweight? Like, what is he going to do? I don't know. But, whatever he does, I wish him the best. And shout out to D-Rod, man. It's tough to see a guy lose in those circumstances. You can tell. And when he was posting online that he was just a little upset about the whole situation, but you do what you do, at the end of the day, he's a dog and there's no way he was not going to not fight. You know what I mean? Like, he had the camp, he flew all the way out there. Obviously he needs to get paid. So, it's tough for him. But yeah, overall, it was a good fight. Then we had Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. Obviously, we were all expecting, I myself was expecting this one to be a fucking first round knockout or something like that, because these boys are big, and these boys, both of them, are fucking knockout artists, especially Sergey. I mean, the guy is a fucking monster, you know? But yeah, at the end of the day, Alexander Volkov took, by the way, I always say Alexander Volkov, and then I want to say Volkanovski, because obviously they have almost the exact same name. So, but yeah, one's a heavyweight and one is a featherweight. So anyways, this was a good fight. I mean, for what it was, you know, co-main heavyweights. It's tough to see heavyweights go all the distance, because by the end of the round, by the end of the fight, they're usually a little more tired and a little bit more fatigued than most of the lighter weights, you know. Obviously, these are big boys, you know. But yeah, Alexander being obviously the slimmer guy and I think taller guy, I want to say. But yeah, he looked great. Technically, he looked great, you know what I mean? And he defeated a top dog in Sergey, who just got off the fight with Tom Aspinall, you know, for the interim. So the fact that you're defeating a former title contender, you know, challenger, sorry, I should say, that speaks a lot. That speaks a lot, because now you're right there, bro. And in the heavyweight division, you know, this division is not as deep as other divisions. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about like middleweight and welterweight, like some of the top 5 guys are undefeated. Like in the heavyweight, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. You can have a couple of losses in your career, but then as long as you have like maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 wins back to back, you're probably already in the top 7. You know what I mean? So from there, all you got to do is just put yourself in a position to be available for a last minute call like Tom Aspinall did, or just be ready. You never know when they're going to announce something. You know what I mean? So that's cool, man. Shout out to Alexander. For Sergey, you know, sorry for him. It's a little tough that he got that loss, because this guy is knockout artist, bro. I mean, completely. Before Tom Aspinall, the guy was on a fucking tear. I mean, knocked out Derek Lewis, Taito Ibasa, fucking Curtis Blades. Like, this guy was on a tear, bro. Look at the names I just fucking mentioned, bro. Those guys are legends, bro. Okay? And he knocked out Derek Lewis when Derek Lewis was like the man. When he back then had, I don't know if he still has it, but he had the most knockouts in UFC. And then Sergey comes over and just fucking shit on him, you know? Taito Ibasa, that was fucking wild. And then Curtis Blades, that's also fucking wild. And then obviously lost the interim against Tom Aspinall. It was obviously it was a short notice fight for what I remember, I think. Yeah, it was a short notice fight. But Tom Aspinall kept giving Sergey his fucking flowers about how this guy is scary. This guy is an absolute monster and savage, and he will knock you out if he gets the opportunity. You know what I mean? Volkov, however, I'm not comparing him to John Jones, but when you remember John Jones back in light heavy, you know, he was obviously the slimmer guy, right? Like, he was tall, lengthy, and slim, and that he used that to his advantage. And I think Alexander is great at doing that. But yeah, it was a good fight. Let me see some of the stats here. We had 46 total strikes versus 82. Yeah, I mean, complete outstruck Sergey Pavlovich. You know what I mean? 0 takedowns, 0 submissions, and then almost double significant strikes. So yeah, when you have double total strikes and double significant strikes, yeah, I mean, the fight is yours. And then what was interesting too is that at the end of the fight, you know, 99.99% of all fighters, at the end of the fight, they hash it out. Think of the biggest beefs we've seen in the UFC, okay? All of them hatch them out at the end of the fight. For some reason, Sergey was not happy and shoved fucking Alexander, bro. I don't know why. For what I've heard, they were homies before. I could be wrong. I don't know. But hey, it is what it is, man. For Alexander, you know, he's in a tough spot right now, because obviously he got this dub. And obviously the heavyweight division is in a huge limbo right now. I also talked about this last week, about how John Jones, obviously, and Stipe are just have a fat, fucking thick bottleneck, okay, in this division. And they're not allowing it to move on right now. And it did not make a lot of sense to make the interim, especially because it was very shortly after the injury, right, for the John Jones injury. Usually they wait a little longer, but I mean, it happens, so it is what it is. And it also doesn't make sense because I don't think we are going to get, as much as it pains me to say this, I don't think we're going to get John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. So let's say John Jones wins against Stipe. Let's say Tom Aspinall wins his fight, which I believe is against Curtis Blades, if I'm not mistaken. The fact that he's having to defend his interim title, it's fucking wild to me, okay? This is why this doesn't make sense. It's just the timing doesn't make sense. How are you going to give a guy the interim title when the heavyweight is, when the champion is not even going to fight for, almost a year, right? So then Tom, he either has to wait for John Jones Stipe to play out, or he defends his interim title. I don't know if that's ever happened before. Has anybody ever had to defend the interim title? Usually when you get the interim title, you fight that, and then your next fight is to unify the belts. You fight the champ. So yeah, the obvious thing to do here is to have Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. Obviously, John Jones got injured, but I think he should be right now coming out of that injury. And of course, Dana wants him to fight Stipe. I think that's the fight John Jones wants to. For what I've seen, John Jones doesn't necessarily entertain the Tom Aspinall fight, which I get it. I mean, if you're John Jones and you're at a point where you're about to retire and you want to retire in fashion and in style, and you want to just completely dominate, then yeah, fight the lesser dangerous guy, and obviously the bigger name, because Stipe Miocic has that status of like the best heavyweight ever, right? So for Jim Jones to get that dub, that's what he wants, right? But it's tough. What would you rather do? Would you rather fight the GOAT for more money, or the up and coming fucking Savage, right? The new GOAT, if you want to, obviously he's not there yet. He's only the interim, and he hasn't had, his record is not that impressive. He's an amazing fighter, don't get me wrong. He could potentially get to a GOAT level. Not a GOAT level, but a heavyweight GOAT level, if he continues to win, obviously, right? But right now, he's not even close to there. However, that's the fight that makes sense to me. As a fight fan, that's the fight that I want to see. And stylistically speaking, I think that's the best fight to put at heavyweight right now. I mean, other than Pereira and John Jones and Tom Aspinall is probably the best stylistically fight in the whole UFC. When you talk about two guys that are technicians, bro, and Tom Aspinall has also amazing jiu-jitsu, okay? His dad had him doing jiu-jitsu when he was super young. I think the dad owned a gym, so that helps a lot. He has amazing jiu-jitsu, and then we all know John Jones also has amazing grappling, amazing wrestling. And on the striking, I think John Jones still has the advantage over Tom Aspinall. Anyways, I'm deviating so much. I'm so sorry. Going back to Sergey versus Alexander. Yeah, Alex is in a tough spot because he just has to wait. There's no clear contender for him right now. I mean, you have Cyril Gahn right now, who I don't know where he's at. I think, for what I heard, they offered him the Tom Aspinall fight and he declined it because he is going to shoot a movie. So who knows how long is that going to take? But I think that would be a next fight for Alexander. I think that's pretty much makes sense. You know what I mean? Have they already fought before? I don't think they ever fought before, right? Let me see. Yeah, they fought a long time ago. Sorry, 2021. Well, not a long time ago. It's crazy that 2021 seems like a long time ago, bro. But yeah, they already fought, and it went to decision, and Cyril Gane got the dub. You know what I mean? So maybe a rematch would make sense for a rematch for a number one contender spot for the interim for the I don't know. The heavyweight division right now it's in shambles, bro. It's in shambles until Tom Aspinall fights, and then until John Jones fights. Right now, this division is chalked. I don't think we can make any fights in the top 7 that make sense, really. In the top 10, that makes sense. I mean, you have some guys there that are still probably going to be fighting, like Taito Ivasa, like Derek Lewis, Rosenstruck. You have a lot of guys there that are still just waiting, man, just patiently waiting to see what happens to their division, bro. Moving on to the main event. We had Robert Whittaker against Ikram Aliskerov. Another fight that just completely got in shambles. You know, it was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev. But then we got an update that he was sick and that he was, I don't know exactly what was wrong with him, but Dana White said it was bad and it was really like he was violently ill. And then I saw, this is not my words, but I saw people saying that this could potentially be like a career-threatening fucking illness, you know? So I don't know if it's that bad. I also heard that he maybe just got food poisoning. So I don't know what the fuck is going on with Khamzat. There's not a guy in the whole history of the UFC that he's been so hyped up, and we know he has skill, but just doesn't fight. Like, the guy doesn't fight. I also saw last video, I saw a tweet where there's a funny stat that every time Khamzat was supposed to be on a main event, he never made it to the fight. So when you have a guy that's a little bit unreliable, you know, whether it's his fault or not, obviously you cannot help getting injured or getting sick or getting food poisoning. But when a guy does not get to fights that often, you know, it's tough, man. It's tough for the UFC. You know, you put so much money, so much fucking resources into booking the fights, doing the promos and everything, and then falls apart. So that part is a little tough. But, you know, hopefully he's able to bounce back. I would hate for him to, like, lose his career over illness or something, but it's happened. You know what I mean? I mean, guys, you can never help. You know, health is one of those things that is completely out of your control. All you can do is go to the best doctors, and that's really all you can do. But yeah, hopefully he gets better. But the fight was okay. You know, Robert gave us an impressive dub over Ikram. First round knockout. I mean, that uppercut was fucking insane, bro. I mean, he was landing some great shots. You can tell Ikram was hurt. And then landed a head kick. You know, not fully landed it, but it definitely did some damage. And then with the uppercut, Ikram just goes down, and it's the end of the night. You know what I mean? I don't want to say like I predicted this, but Robert should have won this fight. No matter how good Ikram is, like, first time ever in a main event, first time ever in front of a crowd, second UFC fight ever. You know what I mean? Unranked, and then not only that, but also like a week notice, right? So when you put those odds like that, I mean, yeah, if you're a betting man, you would have taken Ikram because the odds were probably insane. Actually, they were not that bad. They were plus 120. I don't know if that's what the odds ended at or if that's where they were. But the Ikram had all the odds stacked against him, bro. I mean, when you put all of those things that I just said combined, ain't no way Robert could have lost this fight. But you never know. And that's why we watch. That's why the sport is beautiful. Because Ikram he had a chance to win this fight. Like, he could have done it. Especially if Robert has like an off night or something. You never know. However, Robert Whittaker, man, had an amazing night. Okay, just on point, bro. Completely taking the judges out of the equation. Only landed 14 strikes. That was all he needed, and Ikram only landed 5. And yeah, just had the knockdown. You know what I mean? And then Robert, he's a guy that people forget, bro. People forget that Robert, literally, before he fought DDP, he was undefeated against anybody in the division except Israel Adesanya. Okay, now you're talking about Izzy, who's probably the best ever at that division, you know? So Robert, other than Izzy, for a long time, he was the absolute best middleweight in the whole planet, okay? If Izzy never is born, or if Izzy never gets to middleweight, or if he goes to light heavy, like in some other fucking universe where Izzy does not fight in this division in this point in time, Robert is your long reigning champ, okay? All those years that Izzy reigned, I mean, Robert could have 100% done the damage there, okay? And yeah, obviously fought against DDP and lost, you know what I mean? But then he bounced back. He fought Paulo Costa and won, and now with this impressive win, I don't know how much this does for his leverage towards a championship, because, you know, it's you fought a guy that's undefeated, not undefeated, unranked, you know, second fight ever in the UFC, whatever, all of that. So I don't think he can turn around and say, hey, bro, fucking now I can deserve a title shot. I don't think he will. I don't think he should. However, he absolutely deserves a title shot. Okay, because going through just the inconvenience of booking for Hamzat and going through all of that, it's just super inconvenient. And now he got this win. Like I said, like it's great that he got a win. It helps his cause. But he got to win against, I don't want to say nobody because it sounds wrong, but just unranked, right? Guy that's never fought in not even a main card before. So it's tough, you know? However, Ikram was undefeated coming into this, and the only guy he ever lost to was Khamzat Chimaev. So that could potentially be a rivalry there in the future that we can see. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Anyways, moving on to the pay-per-view that we're going to get this Saturday, UFC 303, Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. We kick off the night, the main card with Ian Machado Gary versus MVP, a fight that I'm really, really looking forward to. Okay, this fight should be, striking-wise, should be of the highest level. Okay, Michael Page, his second fight ever in the UFC right now. His first fight was against Kevin Holland. Not an easy fight, but got the dub, you know what I mean? And looked good doing it, you know what I mean? And I would have loved for him to got a knockout on that fight because it would have just fucking stratosphered his career, bro, into the fucking top. When you knock out a guy like Kevin Holland, you know what I mean? Who's also an amazing striker. Don't get it twisted, bro. But yeah, got the dub against Kevin Holland. That was only in March. Now he's fighting Ian Gary, a tough test. Tough test. So you have number 14 in MVP versus number 7 in Ian Machado Gary. Now, Ian Machado Gary is a guy that is also a super dangerous striker. However, I am not, sorry to say this, but I am not on the Ian Gary train. Okay, I think he is an okay striker. Especially when you look at his record, it's just a lot of decisions. It's just the way it is, you know what I mean? And he gets hit. He gets hit a lot. And he talks himself up. He talks about he's this amazing, world-class, new generation striker. He's the next Conor McGregor. Like, that shit I don't see. I'm sorry. He's a great fighter. Don't get it twisted. And he could obviously knock out anybody out. And he has had some knockouts, you know, he knocked out D-Rod, you know what I mean? And he knocked out D-Rod, but that's the only one I see on his career. He knocked out the first guy he fought in the UFC, Williams. I don't know who that is, but he got that knockout. Then you have decision, KO, decision, and then split decision. So 2 KOs so far. So I don't know how great of a striker he thinks he is. You know, don't get me wrong, he is for sure a great striker, like I already said, and obviously he can put anybody out. But MVP, bro, I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty. Oh yeah, I always talk about the fights, but I forget to make predictions. I'm calling it right now. MVP by knockout. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the fucking way. Okay, MVP by knockout. Round, I don't know, 2. Second round. First round, he's going to just test him out, see what the fuck, and then second round. I think MVP just was, you know, he was just dipping his toes, okay? When he fought Kevin Holland, he was like, all right, you know what? I'm the new guy here, okay? I'm not going to do anything crazy right now, but just watch me, okay? Because the guy can fucking crack. And he's never been a knockout artist, but obviously he can knock out people, but I just have a feeling. I just have a fucking feeling that we're going to witness something spectacular in this fucking fight. I don't know. Listen, I'm not an Ian hater. I know I say that a lot about a lot of people. I don't hate anybody. I just don't think Ian is that good, bro. It's plain and simple. You know what I mean? I don't think he's that fucking good. But yeah, that fight should be interesting. Welterweight, and we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? If MVP is able to get past Ian Gary, that'll be awesome because there's a lot of fun fights for him at welterweight, bro. I mean, fuck. You have fucking Sean Brady. You have Wonder Boy. You know what I mean? You have fucking JDM. You have Colby Covington. Like, there's a lot of this. This fucking division is stacked, bro, with killers. And big names killers. Like, any guy in the top 15 is big name. You know what I mean? Vicente Luque, Neil Magny, Joaquin Buckley, Jeff Neal, Wonder Boy. I'm literally just going down the list. Gilbert Burns, JDM, Colby, Shavkat, Bilal, Kamaru. Like, bro, come on. There is literally not a more stacked division right now than the welter. And I know I talked a lot about the lightweight, but as far as big names, when you look at, well, lightweight is pretty up there too. Honestly, they're both just fucking stacked, bro. So if MVP is able to get past number 7, Ian Gary, bro, wow, you're there. I mean, a Shavkat fight would be amazing. A Colby fight would be amazing, which is kind of crazy because MVP just seems so much bigger than Colby, really. I mean, Colby's a decent sized dude, but he's definitely smaller than Shavkat, right? Or definitely smaller than Leon, and I think smaller than Ian. Also, for what I've heard, Ian was supposed to fight Colby Covington, but Colby just didn't want to take it, which to me is kind of a pussy move. I'm sorry, but to me it's kind of a pussy move, and he was making the excuse that he's not famous enough. Hey, fuckface, who cares? First of all, he's ranked number 7. And you've lost 3 of your last fights. Or not 3 of your last fights, but 3 out of your last 4 or 5 fights you've lost. So who gives a fuck about how famous this guy is when you just got mollywopped for 5 rounds by Leon Edwards? You know what I mean? And before that, you lost 2 fucking championship attempts against Kamaru. I don't think he's in a position to do that. And I don't think Dana White's plural. I don't think Dana White necessarily likes that shit. You know what I mean? When the guy is acting that way. I don't know. It's just, to me, it doesn't look good. I think you should just fight. Take the mentality that take the mentality that Dustin Poirier has, bro. Dustin Poirier fought an up-and-coming killer, okay, in Benoit Saint-Denis. And he was saying, famously said, if you're not protecting your ranking, then you shouldn't be fighting at all. If you're not, you don't have to always just go up. You know what I mean? Sometimes, especially when you get into a position like Dustin Poirier, who's lost a lot of fights in the top 3, sometimes you got to fight back, bro. Sometimes you got to fight the guy that's number 7 or 8 or 10. And that's fine, because if you win those fights, that just guarantees you that you're still there in your spot. You know what I mean? However, if you don't fight, that's how you go back down, brother. So Colby's number 4. Ian is number 7. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Fucking not being famous enough. Like, bro, shut up and fight, bro. Shut up and fight. And I said this after Colby fought Leon. Colby looked so bad in that fight. And now I just feel like I'm talking shit. Colby looked so bad in that fight that I don't think he will be able to compete in the top 5 anymore of that division. So I think all he has left in his career is big name fights. It's a Dustin Poirier fight. It's a Conor fight, a Chandler fight. Even Ian Gary, I would consider that a big name fight, even though he's a up and coming contender. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's all he has left. I think his dreams of becoming champion are over, and I think he's still grasping that a little bit, and I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's healthy for him. But yeah, this fight should be interesting. I'm already calling it MVP, knockout, or just at least a decision. You know what I mean? Then we have a women's bantamweight fight, Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. She's ranked number 7. And Mayra is ranked number 3, so it should be a pretty interesting fight in the bantamweight of women's. I think for the longest, they didn't have a bantamweight ranking, right? But now they do. For the longest, it was just Amanda Nunes just being the champ. So yeah, I mean, that should be a pretty interesting fight, you know what I mean? And then she's ranked number 3, Mayra. So if she's able to get this dub, that could mean a potential championship fight against the champ, Raquel Pennington. So that should be pretty fucking interesting. So we'll see what happens. This is also a fight that I think has been there since the beginning. So shout out for not falling apart. Then we have Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. This is the one that was fucking in shambles, okay? We were supposed to have first Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. And then that fell apart. And then we're supposed to have Jamal Hill versus Anthony Smith. And then that fell apart. And now we have Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. So unranked guy. I've never seen a lot of him, unfortunately. But Anthony Smith, Roman is on a 2-fight losing streak. So he really, really needs to win this fight, bro. However, it is the last minute, so hopefully the UFC might not punish him as much if he loses. But fuck, bro. Anthony Smith is a guy that you don't fuck around with. You know what I mean? He's a fucking savage. He's been a veteran for the sport for a little bit. He's been doing it for so long. He has like a famous beef with John Jones, but it is what it is. But yeah, Smith coming off of a win of Petrino, but then before that he had a couple of losses. He had he lost to Khalil Roundtree, and then he lost to Johnny Walker out of everybody. And also lost against Ankalaev. So yeah, tough road, man. You know what I mean? And let's see. I think he also, he went on a little bit of a tear. He had a win, 2 wins in a row, and then lost, defeated Gustafsson, but that was a long time ago. Now we're going back to 2019, so that doesn't even count anymore. But he won his last fight, which is okay, and then he's won 2 out of his last 3. So that's not the best record, but he is ranked still number 10. However, he's still a savage, so it should be a pretty interesting fight. I'm calling it. When a guy like this comes with 2 fights, back-to-back losses, I don't know. And have they been KOs or have they been decisions? Let me double check. So decision lost against Imavov, and then decision lost against Vittori. So at least he hasn't getting knocked out. He knocked out Hermanson to win that fight in 2022, but after that he's got 2 losses. He also didn't fight for like almost a year. He fought Marvin Vittori in March. He lost by decision, and then almost a whole year after, like literally, I was actually more than a year. It was a year and a month. Fought Imavov and lost also by decision. So majority decision too, which sucks. But yeah, 2 losses, and then you're not that active, brother. It's been another year literally since he's fought. More like this guy. Oh wait, never mind. Sorry, it's been like 3 months. My bad. But yeah, this guy is a little bit on a losing streak, so it's tough to really put money on him or count on him at this point. And Anthony just seems like the safer bet. I don't think anybody's gonna get knocked out here. I think this fight is gonna go to a decision. So Anthony should pull that off. Now we have the co-main event, and I want to say probably one of my best, like not my best, probably one of my most anticipated fights of the year, right? And it kind of just came out of nowhere, amongst all this chaos, amongst all this mud and shit and dirt. We had one little flower sprung out. An amazing fight, Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Big jump, by the way, because Diego Lopez is ranked 14 and Brian Ortega is ranked number 3. So this should be very interesting because Diego Lopez is a guy that fought at UFC 300. He has massive hype behind him. He is, I believe, undefeated. No, he's 24-6. He's 24-6. Never mind. He is not undefeated, but he is in the UFC. He lost his debut, but then after that, he's won 3 in a row. So good for him. However, this is a big jump, man, because he fought unranked guys, and then now he's fighting the number 3 guy in the fucking world, which is insane. But that happens, when someone has big hype, and then also happens when opportunity comes along. Like this fight was not there fucking 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So amongst all the Conor chaos and all the fucking Jamal Hill chaos, this fight came along. So I'm glad because I'm a huge Brian Ortega fan, bro. The guy is so exciting to watch. He reminds me of like a Charles Oliveira, where he's down to strike with you and fucking, go slug it out, get on a slugfest. But at any point, okay, if the fight goes to the ground, it's over. Okay, fucking Brian Ortega's submissions are insane. And he has, obviously, one of my favorite rounds ever against Alexander Volkanovski when he had him in that fucking choke for I don't know how long, but it was a long ass time, and he thought he was about to be champion. The whole world thought he was about to be champion, and Volk for some reason survived. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was tough. He had that loss. Before that, he had a win against the Korean Zombie, and then before that he had a loss against Max Holloway, which unfortunate, but Max Holloway is a fucking animal, so that's okay. And then after the bulk fight, he got injured during a fight. He was fighting Yair, and I think his shoulder dislocated. So in his record, it's in a loss, but I don't think that should be a loss. And then they fight again. That fight was in July of 2022. And then they fight again recently, you know what I mean? And February of this year, and Ortega wins by submission. Like I said, bro, guy is a savage submission artist, bro. So you cannot count him out. Even though he was getting, I want to say he was losing that fight. Let me watch the fucking. Okay. Total strikes there. Yair Rodriguez had 64 strikes versus 47, as well as way more significant strikes, 55 versus 28. And even knocked him down once for what I see here. However, Brian just came on with that submission and was insane. He won. How did he win? Oh, that fight was in Mexico too, by the way. That's sick. I forgot which submission he threw. Where is it? It just says submission. Come on, bro. I forget. By the way, I have the worst memory, okay? I'm terrible at this, recalling fights or fighters' names or records. I'm terrible. That's why I constantly have to have the website pulled up. My memory just sucks. Not just for the UFC in general, okay? My memory is just fading. I'm for sure going to have Alzheimer's by the time I'm 30, I think. But yeah, this should be a pretty interesting fight, brother. Like, I can't tell you how excited I am for this fight. It's going to show a lot if Diego is able to hang with Brian. You know what I mean? I think if the rankings make sense, and if you base those of, if you follow the rankings, I guess I should say, like heart to heart, you know what I mean? Like if you really think the rankings are 100% true, this should be an easy fight for Brian. You know what I mean? But I know, and a lot of people know, that's always not true. You know what I mean? The number 14 guy could totally do some damage against the number 3 fight. And if he does that, I've seen this before where like Khamzat fought Gilbert Burns. Khamzat was ranked, I don't know, in the top, somewhere after 10. I think it was ranked like 10 or 11 or 12. I don't know. But then Gilbert was ranked number 3. It was almost the exact same scenario. And I was saying like, oh my God, like if Khamzat wins this, like he's going to get a title shot right away, right? And he didn't. Like, I don't think the UFC looks at this that much and say, okay, Diego defeats number 3 guy. Now maybe a fucking championship fight. Also, another thing I should say about this fight is that after the Yair Rodriguez fight, to me, that was a number 1 contender fight. In my opinion, Brian should be fighting for a title, bro. If the Volk fight doesn't happen against Topuria, or if the Max Holloway fight doesn't happen against Topuria, do that. Like fight the champion, because in my opinion, that was a number 1 contender fight. You know what I mean? Especially Max going up to lightweight and Volk getting knocked out viciously. So the clear option for me was Brian. He was right there. He's right there. You know what I mean? And it just never came to fruition. Maybe if he would have waited, like maybe if he waits a few months, let's say they offered the Diego Lopez fight. Diego Lopez, and he says no. He waits a couple of months. Let's say Volk says, you know what, I'm not fighting right now, I'm taking some time off. And let's say Max Holloway says, hey, I'm staying at lightweight. Boom, brother, you have a title fight on your hands. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying he should have turned this fight down, but I just think if you lose against this guy, bro, it's such a risky move. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Brian gets hit, okay? As much as I love to watch him, he gets hit, bro. He gets hit. By the way, he's also so handsome. Guys, pause. I promise I'm not, it's Pride Month, but I'm not gay. Shout out if you are. I respect you and I love you. But he's so handsome, bro. Hey, I do this with my girlfriend all the time, okay? I'm comfortable enough to say that guy is handsome, okay? This guy is fucking handsome, bro. I do it with my girlfriend all the times watching shows, and I actually just do it just to make her laugh. I would just be watching a show, and I'll be like, damn, that guy is handsome. And she'd be looking at me like, what? Are you gay? Like, what's going on? I'm not gay, but I just think it's funny. But Brian is handsome. You can't even deny it, bro. And he's Eyes are beautiful. Okay. Pause. All right. Let's keep it going, man. For Brian, I'm going to predict this a Brian Ortega win. I think either by submission or by decision. I think that's going to be the unanimous decision, I want to say. I think it's going to be a close fight. I really hope this is a good fight. I really hope. Because Diego is a fucking superstar already, bro. And the guy's also curious. He's kind of, he's odd because he's from Brazil, but he lived for a long time in Mexico. So when I see him speak, he speaks like this 80% Spanish, 20% Portuguese. And eu falo poquito de portugués, like Spanish and Portuguese are already very similar. They're super meshed together. But he does like a 70 or 80% Spanish and then some Portuguese, which is funny to watch and just interesting. At first I was like, where the fuck is this guy from? What the fuck? And then I saw that he's from Brazil, but I don't know if he currently lives, but he lived a lot in Mexico. So that's fun. Shout out to Mexico, bro. Let's go. Then we have arrived, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a bit of a longer episode, but thank you for bearing with me. We have arrived at the main event of the evening. We have Alex Poatan Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Okay. Number dos. Okay. This fight already went down. First fight, Jiri went down super bad, gets knocked out. And then there was some controversy if it was an early stoppage, but he himself said like, hey, I was out. Okay. I was knocked out. However, before I've been in that position where I'm out and I'm able to come back and win the fight. Okay. So that's the argument there, that yes, he was out, but he could have came back and won the fight. However, can you do that against Alex Pereira? I don't know. I don't fucking think so, bro. I don't think so. You know what I mean? So I think it was wise to stop the fight. At the end of the day, it's okay because you got your rematch. Okay. And I think we always knew we're going to get a rematch. And I think that this fight is intriguing. And when you compare it to Conor Chandler, okay, obviously the previous main event, it's a better fight stylistically speaking. Okay. These guys, I mean, they're fucking technicians, bro. They are. I don't have to tell you anything about Alex. He is a striking master. Okay. He's a knockout master. He's just the best currently in the UFC at finishing fights. Okay. He's like Mike Tyson in this way. Okay. When Mike Tyson was coming up, people were mad at him that they were buying tickets, they were making all this big fuss about him fighting, and people sit down and they want to watch Mike Tyson fight, and boom, fight's over, 10 seconds. Like that have the same feeling with Alex, especially at UFC 300. It was such a great event, and now it's just like, oh, we just had the max knockout and shit, and then we're watching the main event and boom, it's over. Fuck. So like, it's good that we're seeing knockouts. I love it, but fuck, this guy's just too good. He's too good to the point that it's almost bad. But this should be a fucking interesting fight, man. I mean, I don't know, bro. It's tough for me to make any sort of bets or prediction against Alex because of what we have seen with him at light heavyweight. Okay. At light heavyweight, he is undefeated. He's defeated multiple former champions. I mean, bro, his only record, let me put it this way. All his wins at light heavyweight are against former champs. And that's all his fights at light heavyweight. Okay. He's undefeated at light heavyweight, and all those wins are against former champs. Okay. You're talking John Bohovich, you're talking Jiri Prochazka, and Jamal Hill, all former champs, knocked out two of them viciously, and Jan Blachowicz goes to a split decision and wins, right? I don't know, bro. It's tough for me to make a bet against this guy, but I really want to see more of a slugfest, okay? That's what I was looking forward in their first fight. I was looking forward for seeing the back and forth, especially because Jiri is also such a vicious fucking striker and also a finisher, okay? He had that amazing knockout of, who was it? Dominic Reyes. And then he knocked out also. Oh, and then his fight against Glover was probably one of the best fights at light heavyweight ever. Not the best one, because the best one is John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. Come on, don't get it twisted. But it's right up there, bro. I'll put that one, then I'll put this one. You know what I mean? It's GD versus Glover. That was an amazing fight. And then, knocks out Rakic, you know what I mean, before this. So it's fucking insane. Knocks out fucking Dominic Reyes. Oh, and has a mirror against Ozdemir as well, who we just talked about. So, yeah, man, it's nothing but a clash of giants and champions and amazing strikers. And I'm looking forward to it. If I had to make a decision, and I'm about to make it right now, an official prediction, it's Alex Pereira. It's Alex Pereira. I hope not by first round knockout, but I hope maybe by a fourth or fifth round knockout. I want to see Alex go through some adversity. Not that I hate the guy or anything. Again, I feel like I have to say the whole time, I'm not a hater, okay? I'm not hating on Alex. But it's just been too easy, bro. He's been fighting on easy mode, bro. Bump that shit up to hard or to expert. You know what I mean? Like when you play a video game, like bump that shit up, bro. And I want to see that. I want to see a fucking fight. You know, obviously, if he gets a first round knockout, great. Great, because we're also witnessing one of the best runs ever, okay? Ever. So if he does that, good for him. However, part of the reason of why John Jones versus Gustafsson, the first one, it's one of my favorite fights ever, is because it was a slugfest. And it was because John Jones went through so much fucking adversity on that fight that it made it such an interesting fight to watch, because you're on your fucking at the edge of your seat the whole time. You're like, oh my God, is this gonna be John Jones' first loss? Like, oh my God, is he getting knocked out? I want to see that from this fight, okay? I want to see, you know, that's what I expected the first fight, is Jury to come out with the striking that we know he has and finally be a matchup for Alex Pereira. You know what I mean? Which so far has looked incredibly and completely dominant against any light heavyweight. You know what I mean? It was a split decision against Jan Blachowicz, but I don't know. I feel like that was maybe his first fight at light heavy, so took some time to get used to. I don't know, but after that, he's been knocking dudes left and right. You know what I mean? And before that, you know, obviously he did some fucking damage at middleweight. You know what I mean? Obviously, knocked out Izzy, knocked out Sean Strickland. So yeah, it's Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode. That's been my official predictions for this UFC 303. Sorry we didn't get a Conor McGregor versus Chandler, but it is what it is. But yeah, those will be my predictions. Hopefully, you know, I don't take responsibility for any money that you bet using my predictions. I'll probably be putting some money on the fights, not a lot though. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the fights, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry it's been a little bit longer, but yeah. Shout out and thank you for watching. Peace.